The Vanishing Twin, a mystery at Liberty Island. The examination the autumn of 1920 brought with it an unusual commission to the offices of Hartwell and Associates, photographic analysis. Dr. Edmund Hartwell, a distinguished gentleman with silver-rimmed spectacles and an eye for detail that made him the foremost photographic expert in New York City, received a peculiar request from the National Park Service. They needed his expertise to examine a collection of photographs taken during the recent Liberty Day celebrations at the Statue Liberty. The photographs, numbering in the dozens, have been captured by various amateur and professional photographers who had gathered to document the festivities. What made this collection particularly intriguing was not the quality of the images themselves, but rather an anomaly that had been discovered by a sharp-eyed clerk at the Park Service office. Hartwell spread the photographs across his mahogany examination table, each image carefully catalogued and numbered. The October light streaming through his office windows provided the perfect illumination for his work. His assistant, Miss Catherine Morrison, a young woman with an exceptional talent for photographic development and analysis, stood beside him with a magnifying glass and detailed notes. The Park Service believes there may be a biddage for unauthorized access to restricted areas, Dr. Hartwell explained to his assistant as they began their systematic examination. Several visitors reported seeing individuals in areas that should have been cordoned off during the celebration. The photographs depicted the usual scenes one would expect from such an event: families posing before the magnificent statue, children waving small American flags, vendors selling souvenirs, and crowds of people gathered on Liberty Island's grounds. The statue herself stood majestically against the clear October sky, her torch raised high as a beacon of freedom and hope. As they worked through the collection methodically, Miss Morrison's trained eye caught something peculiar in photograph number 437. Dr. Hartwell, she said, her voice carrying a note of intrigue. You should examine these images more closely. The photograph in question had been taken from an elevated position, possibly from the statue's pedestal, and showed a panoramic view of the crowd below. Among the sea of faces, Miss Morrison had identified two young men who appeared to be identical twins. They stood side by side, pues en similar dark suit and bowler hats, their faces turned esclátalos ta cámara. Remarkable resemblance, Dr. Hartwell murmured, adjusting spectrum as spectacles as he leaned closer to examine the image. Nearmente si como theme tragic tsukiabon, tukimpasekin marcon ello. Pochutut o chut waro theme tragic tsukiabon, es impasio nascentes huellas tsukiabon, tis justos es important plate with you who's obtejando. One bit of the discovery particularly interesting was no merely presence of the twins, but the composition en relativo de restricted areas que le Park Service was concerned about. The brothers appear to be staying and permanently close to a section that should have been off limits to visitors during the celebration. Miss Morrison cross-referenced the image indoors with the photographer's notes. This was taken by Mr. James Whitmore at approximately 2:30 outrageous, causes assumption as honor brothers to be boss. This was taken by Mr. James Whitmore at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, she reported. It was the commanding crowd tomo the status vice para como news pepeti proximate. Dr. Hartwell made careful notes about the twins' appearance, both approximately 6 feet tall, similar facial features, dark hair visible beneath their hats, and what appeared to be matching pocket watches visible on their vest chains. Their positioning suggested they were not merely casual visitors, but individuals who seemed to know exactly where they wanted to be. Let's continue with the examination, Dr. Hartwell instructed. If these individuals were indeed in restricted areas, there might have been relic photographs that captured their movements throughout the sunny day. As they progressed through the remaining images, the mystery deepened. The twins appeared in several more photographs, always together, always positioned in areas that seemed to skirt the boundaries of where visitors were supposed to be. Their presence was consistent across multiple photographers' work, suggesting a the celebration for an extended period. The final photographers de day's examination, number 73, showed the crowd beginning to disperse as the afternoon celebration drew to a close. Dr. Hartwell and Miss Morrison searched carefully for the twins among the departing visitors, but their distinctive figures were nowhere to be found in the latter images. It's as if they had simply vanished, Miss Morrison observed, reviewing her notes from the day's work. Dr. Hartwell removed his spectacles and cleaned them thoughtfully. Tomorrow, we'll begin a more detailed analysis. I want to examine each image where these twins appear, noting their exact positions, the timestamps when available, and any other individuals who might have been in their vicinity. As evening approached and the office grew dim, Dr. Hartwell couldn't shake the feeling Cassini routine expense routine expense matep de faito das histoire precumbe des nons complex. This the one represents that the Liberty Day celebration was beginning to look less like a simple case of visitors wandering into restricted areas and more like a carefully planned operation of some kind. The photographs lay spread across his desk like pieces of a puzzle, each image holding potential clues to a mystery that was only beginning to unfold. Whatever the trutia de twins presents at the Statue of Liberty. Que te da? Dr. Hartwell determintorum frasentu campegils. Dr. Hartwell betiur applicasentu campegils.
Before we start, just a reminder, if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get to the video. The following morning brought a crisp November chill to New York City, and Dr. Hartwell arrived at his office earlier than usual, eager to continue the investigation.
Miss Morrison vololido propoda. Having prepared enlarged versions via key photographs using the latest photographic enhancement techniques available in
Hermaid identified the twins in a total of 12 photographs, spanning from 11:30 in the morning. She had arranged the images chronologically on a large corkboard, with red pins marking the twins' locations and blue pins indicating the positions of the photographers. The pattern they emerged was both fascinating and troubling. Notice how they move systematically around the island, Miss Morrison explained, using a wooden pointer to trace their path.
They begin here, near the main visitor entrance, pero va de secondo photograph, tomoi kun fodi forgol, todo sumino visum preva. Dios, Dr. Hartwell studied the progression carefully. The twins seem to be conducting their own survey of the island, moving with purpose rather than the random wandering typical of tourists. In el photograph, y has apelado de yavi observen esorbanden tiontres y pesin mordigad, y neinto blanjo hasta proctul abel do bon tapiz of retention experience. What are particularly interesting, Miss Morrison continued, is the positioning relative to the security personnel presente cadeo. She pointed to several uniformed guards visible in the photographs. The twins consistently manejed naiaba, feconakiron pinman sobios, ilastonun sobios. Dr. Hartwell picked up his magnifying glass and examined the twins more closely in each image. Their clothing remains immaculate throughout the day, he observed, no signs of fatigue, no dishevelment, despite moving considerable distances around the island. They appear to be in excellent physical condition. In photograph number 23, stadoan around on peso, mudigamansu de confitconjes in tosto. One of the twins was killed by the coals of meso. Y joramentino, aunque durando dosof. His most notebook, y joran of the skin to a sandy, uno to fectigneg de to flamplof. O ta forti flampignis en op to fompes, y colom de thorder aligustum so, y colampito farfmo de nop to fom. Y as dio continued el análisis, des discoverti contuanes an uncanny ability to avoyubiari su carprimon de la probaros, Dios descaren cadalli with la baum there. Utatono viseberico? Hofa. Partially obscured by other visitors. It was as if they understood exactly how to remain visible enough to be captured by cameras while avoiding becoming the focus of attention. Look at the sequence, Miss Morrison said, indicating photographs 31, 32 and 33, all 33 mos de diferentes photographs, pruetino en ciertos tento divorsten, to tueciendo tenaforanio, tentifogo, bedrentino mino, rentiglanio, drobo mote ponsorio, pinson casorio pontixfindo pin. This concetrigitamas profundidade goldidanos layout, beyond what a typical beseteri would possess. The most intriguing discovery came when they examined photograph 45.5, taken at 2:45 p.m. The image showed one of the twins standing alone near a maintenance area that was clearly marked as off-limits to visitors. His brother was nowhere to be seen in the frame. Where is the second twin? Dr. Hartwell wondered aloud. They've been inseparable throughout the day, and suddenly one is alone in a restricted area. Miss Morrison checked the photographer's notes for that image. This was taken by Mrs. Eleanor Blackwood, who was photographing her family near the statue's base. She likely captured the twin by accident while framing her shot. They searched through all subsequent photographs taken around that time, but the second twin didn't reappear until photograph 52, taken nearly 30 minutes later. When he took a Farabe, Evita libantros Dios te tin rabiedo, tranfigo no pis fala no vedom por darer. Pueda it sin prefid paien man de mursetio biedo, Dr. Hartwell mused. Tris person fet en kemian dico lie. Dentro canar sor, preto lo canafar mitigad. L'amico fica segundaisior non so about the timing, and positioning. Should we contact the Park Service with our preliminary findings? Dr. Hartwell considered the enfleasta. Not yet. We need more evidence before we make any accusations. Let's continue our analysis and see if we can determine what happened to the second twin during a 30-minute period. As the day progressed, they made another disturbing discovery. In the final photographs of the celebration, taken as crowds began to depart around 4 p.m., only one of the twins was visible. The other had seemingly vanished entirely.
We have one twin leaving with the crowd, but his brother is simply gone. Miss Morrison reviewed her chronological notes. The last confirmed sighting of both twins together is in photograph 52 at 3:15 p.m. After that, we only see one of them. The implications were troubling. Had something happened to the second twin? Had he remained on the island after the celebration ended?
Or hade de parte vi examase arcamoyudo photographes documente crowds de partor. Dr. Hartwell stood back from the examination table, his mind racing con possibilities. Tomorrow we'll begin a detailed analysis of the backgrounds in each photographer. If the missing twin is anywhere on that island after 3:15 p.m., we'll find him. The mystery was deepening, and Dr. Verbonkabol fodetapada, tuntade begina fes so padalerisi, om Marianol van Boldotiten Bayanol Batterlantebo after 3:15 p.m., we'll find him. Hartwell couldn't shake the feeling that they were uncovering something far more significant than simple trespassing. The methodical movements of the twins, their apparent knowledge of the Islanax layout, and now the disappearance of one of them suggested a carefully planned operation with purposes that remained disturbingly unclear.
To want to know how far this message is reaching, comment below and tell me which city or country you're watching from.
Dr. Hartwell spent a restless night pondering the implications of those discoveries. By morning, he had formulated a new approach to the investigation. Rather than simply examining the twins' movements, he decided they needed to understand the context of the auto celebration in the Temphiaplos and Guinness. Immediately no need to ficar al todo via Spadia. Miss Morrison arrived to find her employer already at work, having spread out detailed maps of Liberty Island alongside the photographs. Iva Topenextuls Pensbetuncha de la the twins. El lient expand the investigation beyond just the twins. There may be other individual involved or whatever operation was taking place at the country. They began by cataloging every person who appeared in multiple photographs, creating a comprehensive database of the celebration's attendees. This painstaking process revealed several interesting patterns. Most visitors appeared randomly throughout the images, consistent with more normal tourist behavior. However, a few individuals like the twins seem to move in letijo, cause individuals no move further del coordination. Dr. Hartwell, Miss Morrison called out, examining a photograph through her magnifying glass. I believe I found something significant. She had discovered a woman in a dark blue dress who appeared in 7 different photographs, always positioned at strategic vantage points around the island. Un lake cada twins, como bate con diari. Sin este el gumam sel policentelo del montet vicento había nico. She's watching, Dr. Hartwell realized, studying the woman's positioning. In each photograph, she's positioning where she can observe the twins' activities. The woman appeared to be in her 30s, well-dressed, and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to authority. Most tellingly, she never appeared to be enjoying the celebration itself. In la celebration itself, her attention was over to stuilitues, avoir les verlo preferir Miss Morrison wondered. Or watching them for someone else, Dr. Hartwell replied grimly. Let's see if we can track her movements in relation to theirs. As they mapped the woman's positions against the twins' timeline, a disturbing pattern emerged. Si amentimbo visual surveillance of the brothers throughout most of the day, Olaxe positioning herself what is munter nilkeltin tageas de l'homo sueron, el beiro mostorir fitanikel sobrikeneto, bitexe vovtente que sabre mais portagam, y pensioli vera prunen que la crido en tetinte. Tiene contrastero pao entrant wopet an amilca glande rasquinto mendo, y alorio vanis twin creaturmatur lades. This is no coincidento, Belly. Se response do claret.
Well, boy, you're boread. We're looking at a coordinated operation involving at least 3 individuals.
Their investigation took another turn when Miss Morrison made a startling discovery while examining the background details of photograph 6-8. Dr. Hartwell, look at this, she said, pointing to a barely visible figure near the island's dock area.
Using the most powerful magnifying equipment, Tomos ceramic a man in a dark coat standing near the boats that transported visitors to and on the port of the island. The figure called too distant, using too grainy to make out facial features, pero his positioning apparent attention to the departing crowds suggested he might be connected to their mystery. He's watching the departure, Dr. Hartwell observed, possibly ensuring that certain individuals leave or don't leave. This discovery prompted Camamino a photograph that included views of the dock area, triunfando the mysterious figure in 3 additional images, always in positions que will allow him to monitor maritime traffic to and the island. As afternoon approached, Dr. Hartwell made a decision that would prove crucial to the investigation. Miss Morrison, I want you to contact the steamship companies to provide transportation to Liberty Island as they can. Head passenger manifests is possible, and any records on annual departures or arrivals. While Miss Morrison worked on this task, Dr. Hartwell focused on the technical aspects of the photographs themselves. Using techniques he's developed for detecting photographic forgeries, he examined each piece for signs of manipulation or alteration. The photographs appeared to be genuine, which made the mystery even more perplexing. Late in the afternoon, Miss Morrison returned with troubling news. The Manhattan Steamship Company, which provided most of the transportation cadarito, reporta que pienpa de Roman Dios to promoverien y mojos puro incident. Pomio meseus pigaus, mon bedorines amadio da betom, bebido one conquerman. His also Dios, Dr. Hartwell, looked up from his examination. 3 passengers? That would align perfectly with our timeline. There's more, Miss Morrison continued. The boat's captain reported that passengers speeding acquaist and trafficked dock, Manhattan rather the standard terminal. The company found this unusual but not retinel, ponual patrons. Vinieval no serempando de nanpo, wealthy patrons. This information cast the twins' activities in an entirely new light. Rather than being unauthorized visitors, who had some gotten lost or wandered or restricted areas, the OSI appeared to be part of a sophisticated operation to include advanced planning, coordination quantiblutioniam accomplices, and a predetermined escape route. We need to determine when they were after, Dr. Hartwell said, returning to the photographs with renewed focus. Their movements were too purposeful to be random. They were looking for something specific, or documenting something particular about the statue or the island. As evening approaches, they made one final discovery that would change the entire direction of the investigation. While examining photograph 28 under high magnification, Miss Morrison noticed something that had been overlooked in their previous examinations. Something small and metallic, using the more powerful lens como hacer both a small camera, or a measuring device, the twin was hanados con Nico forgiante discreetly, position the convermapiante casual observers, para que clearly binuluzco documente to measure something specific about the status base.
What kind of operation requires a detailed documentation America's most iconic symbol? And what had one part of the twin to paucita the documentation America's most iconic symbol? And quite a crowd smith the boy thinking on the roadway. Not Muda Kono the Folletins does not stamp his all the courses. Older Hartwell couldn't shake the feeling to be rolled the bear bar. Ivan were lapped out this for you mean, and he stopped about better something or more serious than a simple case of the prey attacks. But it been Rumia's trapped style. Bear and Mar Redica then Korea or what text ballad?
The methodical nature de twins' activities, the coordinazione complices y la sophisticated escape plan suggested an operazione implications can extend far beyond Liberty Island. Discerned Thomas Crawford de Gom, Bureau de Investigation of an unexpected visitor to Dr. Hartwell's office. Agent Thomas Crawford of the Bureau de Investigation arrived unannounced. His stern demeanor and official credentials immediately commanding attention. Miss Morrison showed him into the examination room, where Dr. Hartwell was studying the latest batch of enhanced photographs. Dr. Hartwell, Agent Crawford began without preamble. I understand you've been conducting an analysis of photographs from the recent Liberty Day celebration. I'm here on official business. Dr. Hartwell set down his magnifying glass and studied the federal agent carefully. The Park Service commissioned our analysis, Agent Crawford. We've discovered some unusual activities that may interest your bureau. Agent Crawford's expression remained impassive.
Quigdirama to discuss space must remain strictly confidential. The Bureau has been tracking a group of individuals suspected of conducting surveillance on strategic American installations. Your photographic analysis may have captured evidence of their activities. This revelation cast their entire investigation in a new light. Dr. Hartwell and Miss Morrison exchanged glances as Agent Crawford continued.
The individuals you identified as twins are actually brothers named Viktor and Dmitry Volkov. They're suspected of working for foreign interests, specifically gathering intelligence on American defensive capabilities and strategic installations. Miss Morrison consulted her notes. That would explain their systematic movement around the island and their apparent familiarity with areas that should have been off limits to visitors. Agent Crawford nodded grimly. The Statue of Liberty, while primarily symbolic, is positioned at a strategically important location in New York Harbor. Detailed knowledge of the island's layout, security procedures, and access points could be valuable for various nefarious purposes. Dr. Hartwell presented their findings to the agent, walking him through the chronological progression of the twins' movements and their apparent coordination with other suspicious individuals. Agent Crawford studied each photograph intently, making notes in a small leather-bound notebook. The woman in blue that you've identified, Agent Crawford said, matches the description of someone we've been tracking. Katarina Novak, suspected of being a handler for foreign operatives. Her presence confirms our suspicions about the nature of this operation. The agent's revelation about the mysterious woman added another layer to the conspiracy. So she wasn't just observing the twins. Miss Morrison realized she was coordinating their activities. Precisely, Agent Crawford confirmed. These operations typically involve multiple layers of surveillance and coordination. The twins would conduct the actual reconnaissance while Novak ensured their activities went undetected and coordinated their extraction if necessary. Hartwell pointed to the photograph showing the critical 30-minute period when one twin had disappeared. What do you make of this gap in our timeline? One of the brothers vanishes for half an hour, during which time he could have accessed areas completely off limits to the public. Agent Crawford studied the relevant images carefully. Based on our intelligence, Dmitry Volkov has specialized training in infiltration and surveillance. 30 minutes would be sufficient time to access restricted areas of the statue's interior, document security measures, and potentially plan surveillance equipment. This possibility sent a chill through the room. The idea that foreign agents might have compromised the security of one of America's most important symbols was deeply troubling. There's something else, Dr. Hartwell said, showing Agent Crawford the photograph where they had identified the small device in one twin's hand. We believe they were using specialized equipment to document or measure aspects of the statue itself. Agent Crawford examined the image under magnification. That appears to be a precision measuring device, possibly for architectural documentation. They may have been creating detailed plans of the statue's structure and foundation. The implications were becoming increasingly serious. Miss Morrison voiced what they were all thinking. If they were documenting the statue's structural details, what were they planning to do with that information? Agent Crawford's expression darkened. There are several possibilities, none of them good. Such information could be used for planning an attacks, identifying vulnerabilities, or developing methods to compromise the statue's structural integrity. The agent then revealed another crucial piece of information. The Bureau has been investigating reports of similar surveillance activities at other significant American landmarks over the past 6 months. The Volkov brothers and their associates appeared to be conducting a systematic intelligence gathering operation across multiple strategic locations. This revelation transformed their investigation from an isolated incident into part of a much larger conspiracy. Hartwell realized that their photographic analysis had uncovered evidence of what might be a coordinated foreign intelligence operation targeting American symbols and strategic installations. What happened to the missing twin Miss Morrison asked. Our analysis shows that only one of the brothers departed with the regular crowd. Agent Crawford consulted his notes. We believe Dmitry Volkov remained on the island after the celebration ended. Our sources suggest he may have hidden in areas inaccessible to regular security sweeps, possibly to conduct additional surveillance or retrieve equipment he had planted earlier. The agent's next revelation was the most disturbing yet. The unsailed boat departure you discovered was likely an extraction operation. However, we have reason to believe it carried only Viktor Volkov and Katarina Novak. Dmitry might have used an alternative method to leave the island. Hartwell studied the departure photographs. Again, with this new information, if he didn't leave with the regular crowd or the special boat, how did he get off the island? That, Agent Crawford said grimly, is what we need to determine. The possibility that a foreign agent remained on Liberty Island for an extended period, with access to restricted areas and potential opportunities to compromise his security, is of the utmost concern to national security. The investigation had evolved from a simple photographic analysis into a matter of national importance. Dr. Hartwell and Miss Morrison found themselves at the center of an espionage case that could have far-reaching implications for American security. As Agent Crawford prepared to leave, he made one final request. Continue your analysis, but report any new findings directly to me. This investigation is now classified, and the information you've uncovered must not be shared with anyone outside this room. The weight of a responsibility settled heavily on Dr. Hartwell's shoulders, as he realized that their photographic expertise had uncovered what might be one of the most significant security breaches in recent American history. And look, the most striking part is still to come. But if this has made sense to you so far, like the video, and send it to someone who needs to hear this. The following morning brought a breakthrough that would finally solve the mystery of the vanishing twin. Hartwell arrived at his office to find Miss Morrison already at work, but her usual composed demeanor had been replaced by an expression of intense concentration and barely contained excitement. Hartwell, she announced as he entered, I believe I've discovered what happened to Dmitry Volkov during those crucial 30 minutes, and more importantly, how he left the island. She had spent the entire night re-examining every photograph with fresh eyes, focusing not on the obvious subjects, but on the minute background details that might have been overlooked. Her persistence had paid off in ways that would reshape their entire understanding of the case. Look at this, she said, directing his attention to photograph 41 taken at 13:50 p.m., during the period when Dmitry had vanished from the crowd. Using their most powerful magnification equipment, she pointed to an area near the statue's base that had previously appeared to be empty shadow. Under extreme magnification, the shadow revealed the faint outline of a human figure pressed against the statue's pedestal in an area that would have been invisible to ground-level observers and security personnel. The figure appeared to be working on something at the base of the monument. It didn't just disappear, Miss Morrison explained. He used the statue itself as cover, positioning himself in blind spots that wouldn't be visible from normal vantage points. Dr. Hartwell studied the image intently. Remarkable. The positioning would require intimate knowledge of the statue's architecture and the sight lines from various security positions. This level of planning suggests months of preparation. But Miss Morrison's most significant discovery was yet to come. While examining photograph 58, taken near the end of the celebration, she had noticed something that had been dismissed as a photographic artifact in their previous examinations. He initially thought this was a flaw in the photographic plate, she explained, pointing to what appeared to be a small dark spot near the statue's torch. But when I enhanced the image and adjusted the contrast, I realized it was actually a human figure. The revelation was staggering. Dmitry Volkov hadn't left Liberty Island at all. He had climbed inside the Statue of Liberty herself and was positioned somewhere in the upper reaches of the monument. possibly in the torch or crown area that was inaccessible to regular visitors. Agent Crawford arrived within an hour of Hartwell's urgent telephone call. When shown Miss Morrison's discoveries, his usual composed demeanor cracked slightly, revealing the gravity of the situation. "This is worse than we suspected," he admitted. If Volkov gained access to the statue's interior structure, he could have planted surveillance equipment, or worse, throughout the monument. The Statue of Liberty could be compromised at the highest level. The agent immediately contacted his superiors, and within hours, a full security team was dispatched to Liberty Island to conduct a comprehensive search of the statue's interior. Hartwell and Miss Morrison were asked to continue their photographic analysis to provide any additional intelligence that might assist the search operation. As the day progressed, they made additional discoveries that painted a clearer picture of the sophisticated operation that had taken place. By carefully analyzing the timing and positioning of all the suspicious individuals, they were able to reconstruct the entire sequence of events. The operation had begun with Victor and Katarina conducting surveillance and distraction activities, while Dmitri used their movements as cover to access restricted areas. During the critical 30-minute period, Dmitri had not only gained access to the statue's interior, but had also positioned himself for an extended stay inside the monument. "The question now," Didwell said, "is whether he's still there or if he found another way to escape after the island was closed to visitors." Agent Crawford returned that evening with disturbing news from the search operation. "We found evidence of tampering in several areas of the statue's interior structure. Small holes had been drilled in strategic locations, possibly for installing surveillance equipment or other devices. More troubling still, the search team had discovered signs of recent human presence in areas of the statue that should have been completely inaccessible. Food wrappers, water containers, and other evidence suggested that someone had indeed spent an extended period inside the monument. But we didn't find Volkov himself." Agent Crawford continued. "Either he escaped during the night after the island was secure, or he's still hiding somewhere we haven't found." Miss Morrison had been studying the architectural plans of the Statue of Liberty that Agent Crawford had provided. "There are maintenance passages and structural spaces that aren't shown on the standard visitor maps," she observed. "Someone with detailed knowledge of the statue's construction could potentially remain hidden for days or even weeks." The investigation had revealed a security breach of unprecedented scope. Not only had foreign agents successfully conducted surveillance of one of America's most important symbols, but they had potentially compromised the monument's security in ways that might not be fully understood for months or years to come. Hartwell reflected on how their routine photographic analysis had uncovered what appeared to be one of the most sophisticated espionage operations ever conducted on American soil. The methodical examination of seemingly innocent celebration photographs had revealed a conspiracy that threatened national security at the highest levels. As evening approached, Agent Crawford made a final revelation that would haunt Dr. Hartwell for years to come. "The Bureau believes this operation was a test," he said grimly. "If foreign agents could successfully infiltrate and compromise the Statue of Liberty, they could potentially target any significant American installation or symbol." The implications were staggering. The vanishing twin had not simply disappeared. He had demonstrated that America's most cherished symbols were vulnerable to sophisticated foreign intelligence operations. The photographs that had seemed to capture a simple celebration had actually documented one of the most serious security breaches in the nation's history. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, Hartwell sat in his office reviewing the final report that would be submitted to the Bureau of Investigation. The case of the vanishing twin had been officially classified, and the public would never know how close foreign agents had come to compromising one of America's most treasured symbols. Miss Morrison entered with the last batch of enhanced photographs, her expression reflecting the weight of what they had uncovered. "The final analysis is complete," she announced. We've identified a total of 17 suspicious individuals who appear to have been part of the broader operation. The scope of the conspiracy had grown far beyond the original twins. Through painstaking photographic analysis, they had uncovered evidence of a sophisticated network of operatives who had infiltrated the Liberty Day celebration. Each individual had played a specific role in what appeared to be a carefully orchestrated intelligence-gathering operation. Agent Crawford had arrived for the final briefing, carrying news that would provide some closure to their investigation. "The search of the Statue of Liberty has been completed," he announced. "We found and removed 17 pieces of surveillance equipment that had been installed throughout the monument structure. The devices were sophisticated, designed to monitor visitor patterns, security procedures, and even conversations in key areas of the statue. The intelligence value of such surveillance would have been immense for any organization planning future operations against American targets." "What about Dmitry Volkov?" Dr. Hartwell asked. "Was he ever found?" Agent Crawford's expression darkened. 3 days after the celebration, a body was discovered in New York Harbor. The remains were too decomposed for positive identification, but the clothing and personal effects matched Volkov's description. The revelation cast the entire operation in a new light. Rather than a successful escape, it appeared that Dmitry Volkov had met a tragic end, possibly while attempting to leave the statue through dangerous routes or due to complications with his extraction plan. "We believe he attempted to escape by swimming from the island during the night," Agent Crawford continued. "The currents around Liberty Island are treacherous, and without proper equipment or support, such an attempt would be extremely dangerous." Miss Morrison consulted her notes. "That would explain why we never found evidence of him departing through normal channels. He was planning an escape route that avoided all conventional surveillance." The agent nodded grimly. "The irony is that his own operation sophistication may have led to his downfall. By avoiding all normal departure methods, he was forced to attempt an escape that proved fatal." Dr. Hartwell reflected on the tragic end to what had been a remarkably sophisticated operation. What happened to the other operatives? Viktor Volkov and Katarina Novak. "They successfully escaped on their own scheduled boat departure," Agent Crawford replied. "By the time we understood the full scope of the operation, they had disappeared into the general population. The Bureau continues to search for them, but they've likely assumed new identities or left the country entirely." The case had revealed vulnerabilities in American security that would require significant changes to how important monuments and installations were protected. The Statue of Liberty's security procedures had been completely overhauled, and similar reviews were being conducted at other significant sites across the nation. As they prepared the final documentation, Miss Morrison made one last discovery that would add a poignant footnote to their investigation. While organizing the photographs for archival storage, she noticed something in the very first image they had examined. Photograph number 47, where they had initially identified the twins. "Dr. Hartwell," she said softly, "look at their expressions in this first photograph. Under magnification, the twins' faces revealed subtle details that hadn't been apparent in their initial examination. While Victor appeared confident and focused on their mission, Dimitri's expression showed signs of uncertainty, perhaps even fear. He knew, Dr. Hartwell realized. Somehow, Dmitry Volkov knew that this operation would not end well for him. The photograph captured a moment of human vulnerability in the midst of a sophisticated espionage operation. Despite his training and preparation, Dmitry had apparently sensed that their mission carried risks that might prove fatal. Agent Crawford reviewed their final report with satisfaction. "Your photographic analysis has been invaluable to national security," he told Dr. Hartwell and Miss Morrison. "The techniques you developed for examining crowd photographs and identifying suspicious activities will be adopted by law enforcement agencies across the country." The case had transformed Hartwell's practice from routine commercial photography analysis to cutting-edge forensic investigation. The methods they had developed for tracking individuals through multiple photographs and reconstructing timelines from visual evidence would prove invaluable for future security investigation. As the sun set over New York City, Dr. Hardwell stood at his office window, looking toward the harbor, where the Statue of Liberty stood silhouetted against the evening sky. The monument appeared on chains, her torch still raised as a beacon of freedom and hope. But they now knew that beneath her serene exterior lay evidence of one of the most sophisticated espionage operations ever conducted on American soil. The case of the vanishing twin had been solved, but its implications would resonate for years to come. The photographs that had seemed to capture a simple celebration had actually documented a moment when America's security had been tested by foreign agents who had come closer to success than anyone would ever publicly know. Miss Morrison joined him at the window, both of them contemplating the statue in the distance. "Do you think there will be other operations like this?" she asked. Dr. Hartwell adjusted his spectacles and considered the question carefully. "I suspect this was just the beginning," he replied. "But now we know what to look for. The next time foreign agents attempt to infiltrate our most treasured symbols, we'll be ready for them." The final frame of their investigation had been captured, but Hartwell knew that their work in protecting American security through photographic analysis was just beginning. The techniques they had developed and the vigilance they had demonstrated would serve as a model for future investigations, ensuring that the vanishing twins' sacrifice would not be in vain. In the growing darkness, the Statue of Liberty's torch continued to shine, a symbol of freedom that had been tested but not broken, watched over by those who understood that liberty's price was eternal vigilance.